Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to Teachers Tech, and welcome to my Microsoft Excel Intermediate class. In this Microsoft Excel tutorial, I want to carry on from where we left off in the beginners class and make sure that we enhance your skills. I want to go beyond the basics of Microsoft Excel so that you can save yourself time and effort with becoming more efficient. And all these things together will help your resume even stand out more, where you can be thinking about career growth with these important Microsoft Excel skills. If you'd like to follow along with today's Microsoft Excel class, take a look down below in the description. I'll put a link to this workbook we're working through today with all the different activities, so you can just click on the link, download it, then open it back up in Microsoft Excel. Then you'll be able to follow along very easily. Also, in the intro, I mentioned a beginner's class that I did earlier. I'll put a link to that too if you wanted to start from that point, and it'll be up above in the card too, so you can just click on that and check out that video as well. Let's get started with today's learning on Microsoft Excel. Let's start with a time-saving tip, how to make yourself a little bit more efficient using Autofill. In the workbook, we're just on the first sheet, so if you take a look down below, we're just on this one that says Autofill. Now, how Autofill works is it can recognize a pattern is needed. In some cases, they just know the pattern and it can just help populate. So in this case of January, I don't want to go down and have to write in this next one, February, and start typing out all the months. You can use Autofill for this. So if I click on a cell like this, and I just go over to where I see the fill handle, this green little square at the bottom, and hover over, I'm just going to drag down. Watch as I start dragging here. So February, March, April, May, and when I let go, it populates with those months. And I can do the same thing with days, just like this. So if I click and drag down, you can see the days populating here. Even if I abbreviated the days from Monday just to Mon, like this, M-O-N, it recognizes the pattern and does this right away. I could do the same thing if I was going to do the January as Jan, February Feb, it would recognize that as well too. Now with numbers, it's a little different if it's just one number. So if I go ahead and try to autofill with the number 1 and copy down, it just copies 1 again and again and again. I have to help it out a little bit here. So what I need to do is I'm going to just go Control Z to undo that last one. I need to increase the pattern. So I'll put a 2 here, just like that. And now if I highlight both and grab and drag down, it will know the pattern and it will just keep filling it out. If I was going to go ahead and maybe wanted to go up by 5s, I could put the next one as 10 and do the same thing. So make sure that you highlight both of those, and then I could drag it down and the pattern will be recognized. You can see how this can save you a lot of time. I've been going vertically, but you can go horizontally on this too. So notice over here, January. So if I was going to drag this way, January, Monday, same thing, everything works across vertically as well. So if you're putting column headers, this can save you time doing that. I want to show you though, if we go to the left. So in this case, if I was going to go back and start dragging to the left, notice December, November, it will go in reverse. Same thing with the days. This will become Sunday here. Now, if I go to the numbers here, I can continue on just like I did before. But if I go the other way, take a look at this. As I drag, you're going to notice that it starts to go 0 and then it goes even into the negatives. So a little technique using autofill can save you a lot of time where you don't have to be typing all this information in. I want to show you how you can create your own autofill now. And we're going to use this as an example here. I have apple, banana, orange, and let's say we're typing out this list lots, or we want this list, and we want to just be able to have it recognized in an autofill. What we can do is go to File, and take a look at the very bottom. We're going to go to Options right here. So Options, it opens this up here. I'm going to show you a shortcut. I'm going to close this. If I just right click up here and then go to Customize the ribbon, this pops out. So I am in Customize ribbon, but it brings you to all the Excel options as well. I'm going to go to Advanced and just drag this all the way down to the very bottom. And we're going to go Edit Custom Lists right here. So just click on this. Now I could go through and I could type things like apple and I hit enter banana, I could make my list like that. But rather than even typing it out, maybe you already have it once in Excel like this. If I go here and just go and now grab the list, and I can go back and just click this again and hit import. There they are, just like that. So now I have this list, and you can see I have other lists that are already in here. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday. So all these different ways. So if you know you're using something over and over again, you could change that or add them just like I'm doing. So if I go ahead and hit OK, and I'm going to hit OK again. So let's go over here now. So if I started typing Apple, just like this, it should recognize that this is part of the autofill. So if I drag this down, notice it populates the list right away. So again, that can save you a lot of time if there's a list that you're using over and over again. So autofill is a great feature. Let's move over to Flashfill now. So now it's time to switch the sheet. So at the very bottom, just make sure you click on Flashfill now, and you should see this data that we're going to do a little bit of practicing on. Now, what's the difference between autofill and flashfill? Well, autofill kind of works in a linear chronological way just to fill in the list, and I showed you how you can create your list. With flashfill, I would consider it smarter. It can find the patterns in the data that you have and then fill in all the blanks that you want it to. So let's start with a few examples to show you how this works. Let's start with this list right here on how to use flashfill in Microsoft Excel. Now, I want to pull out the first names from this down on this side right here. And I don't want to have to go through and type each one, Emma, Noah, Olivia, and so on. Flashfill can do this so much faster for you. If I go and do the way that I showed you with autofill and just grab the autofill handle here and drag down, it just copies. It doesn't recognize any pattern. It just put Emma over and over again. But if I go to this here, the autofill options, take a look at flashfill. Just select it. And it said, hey, I think I know what you're doing. You want to have the first name of these two in here. So just like that, it did the list for me. Now I'm going to show you a shortcut for this too that's way faster. If you have this first cell selected, try this on your keyboard, Control E. So Control E, it will just populate that list a lot faster and save you even more time. You can also find Flashfill up in the ribbon. I like to just search for things now when I'm looking, so it's so fast this way. If I just type Flashfill and click on it, if you notice, it said it didn't like that because I didn't have the cell selected what I wanted to Flashfill. So if I go back to it and type it again, Flashfill, it populates it like that. So I don't even, I can do more than just pull out the first name. So here's an example. If I delete all this, I could go, if I wanted the first initial and last name. So if I type Johnson, and you have to type things correctly or else it won't recognize the pattern. So if I put E. Johnson like this and go Control E, it pulled out the first initial from the first one and then the full last name. If you wanted just initials, I could go ahead and put EJ in the first one and then use my Control E to just fill it, Control E, just like that. So you can see the time-saving advantage of Flashfill. Let me show you a few other ways you can use it. If we move on, in this case right here, so Mia Thompson, I created this, I just rewrote this once like this. I want to put emails to this. So if I click in the cell, and you'll probably see this pop open, I'm just going to click off of it because I don't want to send an email. I'm just going to go Control E, and it takes this and knows what I want and populates that list just like that. Now I could go ahead and do something like this. If the dates were formatted this way with month then day, maybe I wanted day then month. So if I click in the cell, Control E, and it will copy it down. We can also do things like take from two cells. So if I have this cell and this cell here, and I write Charlotte Clark in this cell, and I use my Control E, it will know to pull that down. And again, I can make different combinations if it can recognize the pattern. Here's one that can save you time for formatting. You know how hard it can be to read phone numbers like this? I just rewrote it once like this, put the, just to break it up so it's easier to read, click in the cell, Control E, and it goes down in Flashfill. Even if I have 3 columns like this, I could go and type Zoe Patel, 1992, and we'll go ahead and just use our Control E again. In each case, we have the first name, last name, and the year after it. So lots of different ways that you can use Flashfill to save you a lot of time. Now I want to talk a little bit about combining cells in Microsoft Excel. I just showed you Flashfill, and that is a quick way to do this. So if I was providing this example, make sure we're on the combining cells sheet now if you want to follow along. I'm going to go through and just go Control E. It does the Flashfill. The one reason I don't like using Flashfill is it's not dynamic. So what I mean is if Ned chooses to be called Nettie, it doesn't update over here. So it stays as Ned Stark. I would have to do that again. These other methods that I'm going to show you with the ampersand or these different functions, you will be able to dynamically change them if this list changes here. Let's go and start with the ampersand here. So I'm just going to go here. And remember, when we start with the formula, we need to start with an equal sign, just like what we talked about in the beginners class. So I'm going to go ahead and put an equal sign. We're going to cell reference. We're referencing this one, so A2, which has Nettie in it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the ampersand sign in. So the ampersand sign is above the number 7. I'm going to go Shift. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the next one, which is B2, and hit enter. Notice it says Nettie Stark, all one, and I don't really want that. I want to have the space in it. So you have to do something, if you want the space, you have to do something a little different. I'm just going to click on the cell here. If I go ahead and double click in it, it brings me to this, and I can make the changes this way, or I could go up to the formula bar to make some changes. But what I'm going to do is just after the ampersand sign here, I'm going to go and add some quotation marks just like this. And actually, I'm going to put a space in between them like this, and then add another ampersand sign and then hit enter. Now I have the space. So double click and you can see what I did. You need the ampersand sign on both, and I put the space in between. I could do something differently. So if I wanted to have, hyphened, you can see how it changes like that. But in this case, I just want to have the space that I had here. Now, take a look at this. If he goes back to Ned and I just go and change this, this updates automatically. This can copy down, so I can go and drag this down just like other methods. And then this, if I click on any of these here, you'll be able to see the ampersand sign in here. Now let's talk about some of these functions that you can use. And the reason I have these 3 different functions here, depending on what version of Microsoft Excel you have. I'm using the newest version, 365 version of it, and I would probably be using text join to combine it. But if you're on an older version, maybe you'd want to be using concatenate, and I'll show you how to use this. If you have a version of Microsoft Excel before 2016, this is probably what you're going to use as a function to combine cells. I'm going to go and use my insert function right here. And let's go ahead and look for it here. So I'm going to go to start typing, and I'm just typing CONC, hit go. And these are actually the 3 different functions that I'm going to be showing you here in the next few moments. But we got concatenate right here. I'm going to hit OK. So what's my arguments? Well, my first one is going to be Ned over here, so A2. And if I click in here, notice another spot is put in. I do actually have to use all 3 spots in this way. So I need to actually put the space in between. So just like before, if I don't put this, it's going to be put together. Then I can click in my last one and then put Stark in. So then, or B2, and I hit OK. Now notice if I double click in it, you can see the formula here, concatenate. It's going to be A2, and it put the space in between and then B2, just like that. And I can go ahead and copy this down. Now with the concat, so if you're with the newer Microsoft Excel here, we can try this one. This one is a step up because it allows me to choose a range, but it doesn't quite allow me to have the spaces in it. So I have to kind of default to the other way. So what I mean is if I go ahead, if I put equals this time and start typing concat, you can see there it is here. If I was going to go, I'm going to keep typing, notice concatenate. It just shows that it's out of date here. You get that little messaging here, but this is concat. I could go and grab a range here and hit enter, and it puts back Ned Stark, but I can't add the space in it. I would have to go back and do the same thing that I did before. So I could delete this. I could go put my concat, spell it correctly, concat, right here, select my first one, use my comma, and then my spaces like so, and then another comma, click on my second one and hit enter. And then it works kind of just like concatenate on this one. Text join, though, is what I find, if you're at the newest version, what you should be using, because then the range will work and you can add your delimiters. Text join fixes the issue that concat had with the lack of spaces that I could add to this. So let's go ahead and start this. So I'm going to put the equals in here, and I'm going to type in text join. Here it is. I'm going to select it. So what do I want here? Well, the first thing is going to say, what's the delimiter? So delimiter is like a space or a hyphen. What do you want to go there? I want a space, so I'm just putting in my normal way with the space in between the quotation mark, put my comma, ignore empty cells. I don't have any. I'm just going to go ahead and ignore this. So I'm selecting this one, put my comma in here. This is what I like. I can go and grab a range now. I don't have to go A2, then B2. I'm going to grab a range. So just by the A2 colon B2, I have a range. I hit enter. I can go to it and then fill it in. Again, if any of these things change, so if I go to Netty here, look which ones change. So that these all change right through here. So these are dynamic and the Flashfill wasn't. So those are 4 different ways besides Flashfill that you can join cells together. In the beginner's Excel class, I went through filtering and sorting just kind of in a basic way. Now I kind of want to dig deeper into it and show you kind of an advanced feature and also a function with filter in it as well. But first, before I do that, you can see right here how the formatting isn't quite right. I want to give you a little tip for a shortcut to quickly format your width and your row heights and everything on it. So what we're going to do is, if you click anywhere in the data here and just go Control A. So Control A will select all. Now the next thing what you're going to do is go to Alt and H. And that goes to your home tab if you look up top. And it's giving me all these letters over the screen. It indicates what I want next. I want to go to format, which is O, and then I can adjust the column width. So you can see the column width. I want the auto column width is I. So I'm going to hit I. Then it adjusts it. So I also want to do any rows that aren't there. So I could go back to the Alt H for home, then go hit my O again. And this time what I want to have is the row one, the row auto height, and that's going to be A. So like that, everything is adjusted. So if you get to know those shortcuts, you can quickly format all your column widths and also your row heights on it. Now, let's go and do some sorting on this. I'll do a quick review from what I did in the first beginner's class. Before we do some sorting, let's just go ahead and add another column. And I'm just going to go and click on the E column here. And I could go Insert under the Home tab and insert a column this way, or I can just right click and insert this way, and it adds the column. We're going to just double click in there, and we're going to call this foreign gross, just like that. And we'll do a quick formula. So we're going to go equals, and we're just going to say it's going to be worldwide minus this one. So we get a total. It doesn't fit. We can just go correct our column width by that double click here. And we can use the fill tool, double click, and fill this in. So it gives us a foreign gross here. Now, let's do some quick sorts. What we're going to do is just highlight everything. We're not going to sort it by rank because we can see already it is there. But if we wanted to change the order of the rank, if we do highlight everything, we can go under the Home tab over to sort and filter. So we have sort and filter if we wanted to go from largest to smallest, because right now the number 1 is coming up, so that'd be the smallest, but let's go largest, and it flips everything and all the numbers adjusted to it. So you can see avatar still has this. And we could also right click on this and we have the sort here. We can go, this time we could go smallest to largest and it puts it back to what we already had. We know they're in the correct ranking of these ones. But we could also do it different ways. If I go and highlight, maybe if I just wanted to sort it by alphabetically, I could do that. So I could go and right click, use my sort, and then we could go to sort Z to A. There you go. You can see everything changed alphabetically. So I could go through, and I'm just going to go Control Z to undo that. I could go and sort by a certain column. So if I chose this one, if I chose all of this information and sorted it, it's going to sort here. Now, let's talk about filtering. So I like to use filtering more than sort, and I'm going to add a filter to this. So I'm going to add a filter right across the top to this area. I could right click if I wanted to, and we have our filter. I could go and filter through things, but I actually want to go up top to sort and filter and click here. And notice that I have the drop downs that come on each one now, and this allows me to sort from these. So let's go and filter. Let's go by year. So if I was looking at years, I could go and select all and then turn 15. Okay, now it only shows me the 15 here. So sorting allows me here to go through with the filtering to find exactly what I'm looking for. And then at this point, I could even filter again in it. If I was just looking for one of these, I could just unselect this and hit OK, and then it will go even further down. So I have two different ones on. If I go back up to this, I could go clear or reapply, you can see, but if I clear, it puts everything else back to normal. So let's go another step and look at an advanced filter. To use the advanced filter, I want you to go up to the Data tab here and take a look in the ribbon under Sort and Filter. Notice that we have the same options that I showed you under the Home tab or right-clicking. There's always a number of different ways you can get to these. I want to go to the Advanced here, but I want to do a little bit of stuff first. I actually want to go in this cell and I'm going to type year, and I'm going to type in some years that I want to filter. So it's going to be, and this is kind of random, I'm going to say 2019, we're going to say 2015, and I'll just add one more here, and we'll go 2012, just like that. And you could pick any three that you want. I'm just going to click inside this information here, it could be in any cell, and then I'm going to go to the advanced. So there's right here, so I'm going to select it. Notice that since I was in it, and sometimes you don't have to be within it, and it will just find the data here. And so list range right here. And now criteria range is what I chose here, what I wrote. The thing is, though, you need to make sure that whatever the header that you place over here needs to match one of the headers over here. So you can see I have year here and year here, and I'm just going to go and hit the criteria range, and it's going to be right here, and hit enter, and I'm back to here. You could also go multiple columns. You just have to make sure that, again, your header is going to match the range from something within here too. So I'm just going to hit OK. And now it's given me back those years. So 2015, I can see 2019 and a 2012. If you want to clear your filter, if you take a look up top, we can go up and just clear it and it puts it back. So I could go and enter some more information. So if I was turning this to a 21 here, then I could go back and do the same thing that I did before and go to advanced and choose it based on those. What I like next is I'm going to show you the function filter that can do, I like it how you can kind of dynamically change things from one cell reference. So on this spreadsheet, let's go ahead and set up the space we need to use this function, this filter function. And I'm going to go ahead and select just the headings here, and I'm just going to go Control C, and I'm going to go Control V, place them over here, and I'll just highlight all these columns and double click in between to set the width quickly that way. And I also want to filter by year again, so I'm going to type year here, and I'm just going to put a year that I want to filter by. I'm going to change this, but I'm going to just type 2019. Now, I'm going to put the filter function right in this cell here. And to do it, I could do the equals and start typing filter, but I'm going to go up to insert the function here. So insert function, and if you don't see it on your list, you can type filter, hit go. This is a Microsoft 365 subscription function, so if you're not seeing it, that could be why if you don't have that. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this filter. So what do I need? What's the array? Well, the array is going to be, and I don't want to include the headings, is going to be this area right here. So that's my array. What am I going to include? So this is the what I'm going to, so I'm going to click into the include. This is going to be where it's searching like down here. So I'm highlighting everything in here, but I also have to add a step here. So I'm going to be adding the cell reference. So I'm going to put an equal sign in, and I could type the year 2019, but I want to be able to have it cell reference. So if I change that cell, then it will change automatically. So I'm just going to click on this right here and put it in. And then this last part here, if it's blank, I just want it to return kind of blank. So I'm going to go and just put a couple of quotation marks there, and I'm going to hit OK. So, and I can adjust this more here, so you can see this one. And then I could do some formatting on these as well if I wanted to add the dollar signs. But take a look, 2019, so it's pulling from here. What I like about this method, if I was going to look for a different year, I could just type it in here, so 2022, and now it's bringing me back 2022. This way, you know, if you set any of these up here versus the way when we're just filtering, if we were looking, if you had a list of thousands and you had to go and deselect and select all the ones you want, where you can just go ahead and type it in here using the function. So just some tips about filtering, kind of from the simplest to the advanced filter to even using a function. So now I want to show you how to create a table in Microsoft Excel and show you the benefits of why you would want to use a table. We've been just using a range so far. So a range is when I select, from different points of cells, and that's the range, but now it's a table I want. And to turn this into a table, it can be done very quickly. I'm just going to click anywhere within this information, this data set, and go to Insert. And you can see there's table right here. So if I click on table, it comes up here, the range is there, and then my table has headers, and it does have headers across the top. I'm going to hit OK. And as soon as I do that, it's created this table. And if you take a look up top in the tabs, we have table design, and it gives us all of this information. And I'll talk about this a little bit more, all these different things in the ribbon that we have. But I want to show you a couple things first. If I want to turn this ever back to a range rather than a table, we have this right here. So we have convert back. So I can go, do you want to convert the table to a normal range? I can hit yes. And notice those filters that were automatically put across the top are gone. The formatting still exists, but it's still just a range right now. I want to show you a shortcut for this though. If you're doing this quickly, you just use Control T to do this. So Control T, and it automatically pops up with create a table. I'm going to hit OK, and now this is back to a table again. And I want to point out too that we have a table name. So this is called Table 5 right now. You can choose the different name for this. So if I wanted this table to be called Top Movies, like so, and I'm just going to put no spaces in here, Top Movies, and now this is called, that table is called Top Movies. Now, some of the things that were created right away, we had these filters added that are, and I showed you how to work your filters. You can go through, I can click in here, sort all the same ways that I showed you before. We could also do a numbered filter or even a custom filter if you know you're looking for something specific. For example, if I was going to go top 1 and maybe I want to see the top 7. Here, items, hit OK, and it quickly shows right through here all the different ones. And then if I click back, I can go and clear my filter and it pops open. So it makes it very nice to quickly go through. Another benefit is if I go ahead and add anything to this table, so if I was going to go and use my foreign gross that I said before, so we'll just type that in. It automatically expands the filters there, even though I don't have anything in it. And it happens the same thing. So if I keep adding more rows, it's going to expand this way as well. The great thing is when I do a formula, and we'll do the same formula that we've done before, I want it right in here. I hit equals, and we're going to do just the simple one that we had, the subtraction one from this. So notice it's not coming up as C2. This worldwide gross became a named range in here. So worldwide gross minus this right here. So domestic gross. And watch what happens when I just hit enter. It fills and adjusted the width of this entire column and filled it. Now, another great thing that you can do, so if I'm going back to table design here, make sure you have this tab turned on. I want you to look at some of the options in the table style options, like we can, whether a header row or not. You can see you can toggle it to click these on or off if you want. If you don't want the banded rows or banded columns, just like that, turn them on or off. But what I want to point out is the total row. So I'm going to hit a total, and I just need to expand this. It automatically came up with a total down here, but we have even more options. Take a look at this. So if I drop here, I can just quickly, if I hit max, it went and found the max there. If I was looking for an average, I can just quickly change it. So you can see the things that you can do within a table, how quickly it allows you to do this. And with the other columns, you can do the same thing. So if you're looking for a different total or a max or min, you have all these options under any of them. Just do the drop down, and then you could go through and sum them up and adjust to everything you want. And the other thing is, take a look at the table styles. If you do want to change the table styles, you can take a look. You could go through, hover over any of these, and you can get an idea of how everything looks through here. So our next step that we want to do is insert a slicer into this. So a slicer can help filter everything. So first of all, before we insert our slicer, I just want to add another column to this, and I'm going to call this Studio. And this is just going to be kind of a fake, just for adding information so we can do some filtering. And I'm just going to call this Studio 1 here, and I'm going to just copy down to get 3 of them. So the autofill goes through, and now what I'm going to do is just copy, or you could go right or Control C, and I'm going to go Control V and paste it down to fill up all my spots here. So I have a repeat of Studio 1, 2, 3. So remember, I could filter through different studios like I showed you, or like just normal filters that go through just like that. I'm just going to undo that. But what I want to do is add a slicer. So a slicer, if you take a look and make sure that we're under table design, we have insert slicer here, and we also have it under the insert. We have under filters the slicer. So multiple ways to get to it. I'm just going to stay under table design. I'm going to insert a slicer. So notice I get some options what my slicer. So I'm going to slice this up or add my filter slicers for this. I'm going to look at studio, and I'm also going to look at year here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So I get these 2 slicers now, and I'm not diving into it in this one, but I want to point out that up top now I have a slicer here, so a slicer option in the tab, and then I have underneath of it, I get all of this in the ribbon, and I can go through and adjust the colors of this and do the formatting and put buttons and size and everything. So if you're doing a dashboard, you can make it look exactly the way you want. But I just want to show the functionality here. So here's an example. If I wanted to search by studio, I could go and pick Studio 2, and it filters it. Then I can see the 3 years that they have, and then I could even filter it down to another level. So I can go and clear these by just hitting up here, and it goes back. And notice as I do this, all the totals are changing to it. So if I was going to look for 2015, and right away I can see Studio 2 and Studio 3 come in. Then I can even go to select Studio 3 after that. So you can do multi-select 2 if I just, I can clear again from here, but multi-select is with your Alt plus S on it. So just making sure if you want to select more than one of these. So that's a little bit about tables and slicers. You need to have a table to insert the slicers to it, but you can see all the extra functionality that you get if you use tables with your data versus just the range on it. This is an extremely important concept to understand, cell referencing, especially when we're talking about relative and absolute. So make sure you're on the correct sheet, cell referencing, and we are just going to do some simple formulas, but we're going to be talking about those two topics of relative and absolute cell referencing. So I need to create a formula right in here that will give me the total of week 1. So I have a unit price and I have sales for week 1. So I just need to multiply these two. That's a pretty easy formula. I'm going to go into this cell right here and start it. So equals, it's going to be price per unit multiplied. So multiplied by this. If I hit enter, $13, that looks correct. Can I copy this down? I'm just going to autofill that. Yes, so it went through or did all the calculations. Everything looks correct in here. So what I want to do actually is go to the formulas page, and I'm going to click show formulas. You notice things get expanded, but just to show you what's happening here. So this is just relative. What I mean by that with the columns and rows, it's actually relative. If I go ahead and when I copied this down, it is relative depending to what row it's in. So as I copied this down, this changed to C5 multiplied by D5, and I needed that C6 times D6. So this is working correctly, being relative if I'm just using this one column like this. I'm just going to turn the show formulas off. Where I run into a problem, let's say I'd like to be able to just, copy this over. So if I want to copy this over this way, $780, if I double click in here, it shows me what the two cells that are in here, so 26 times 30. Well, that's not correct. I need it to stay on price per unit and multiply by week 2. So this doesn't work. When I copy this over, I need it to stay in this column of C. So how do I do that? I need to make that column absolute in my formula. So I'm going to go back a step. I'm just going to delete this information, and I'm going to delete all of this right here. Actually, I'm going to delete everything. We're going to recreate the formula using absolute relative. So I'm going to go and start with equal, and it's going to be this one right here, C4. What I can do is I can add dollar signs, and this is how I make something absolute. Now, a trick to this is just to use the F4, and sometimes you have to hold down function depending what your keyboard is. But if on mine function F4, I press it once, it puts dollar signs around both. I don't want that because when I drag it down, I want the row to change. This would just lock into place, and I'll come back to absolute in a moment. So this is absolute, absolute. I'm going to press F4 again. Now it's in front of the 4. So this would be the row that won't move, but I want the row to move. It's the column I want to stay in place, so I'm going to press it again. Now the dollar sign is in front of the C, and that's what I want. I want it to stay in absolute for that column, and I'm going to complete my formula now, so I'm going to just go multiply by this right here and hit enter. $13. So it looks the same, and if I double click on it, I can see the dollar sign is in front of the C, nothing in front of the 4 on it. So everything, if I go ahead and copy this down, everything else still looks correctly. So let's go back and show our formulas. So if we go formulas, show formulas, everything, so C5, notice it's staying in that column. That's what we wanted, and it worked the first time. But now when we drag to the other side, watch this. So I'll turn off my formulas, and I just want to drag this one over. Now it's $15. So if I double click in this one, C4 times E4, so C4 times E4, that's correct. So this was absolute and relative because, oops, I made a mistake there by clicking out of it. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to copy this formula down. And if I just click on this one, So it's price per unit times sales by week. That's correct also. And so as I go down and keep checking these, you can see I was able to copy over to the column and then copy it down, and everything stayed correct because that first one is locked into the column, but this second spot right here, E6, is relative to the row that I'm in. So that is the first example. Now, let's say I want to be able to, I can do this with rows as well. So I'm going to show you a little trick here too for something else. I'm going to go and just copy this. So I'm going to go Control C like this, and I'm going to paste it down here again. So I'm just going to right click, but what I want to show you is this right here is transpose. So if I go to transpose, it changed the way it was set up. So notice now I have my days across the top and then this across the bottom. So if I was going to make sure I want the row locked into place versus the column, it would be slightly different. So I'm going to go and just delete this information out. So if I was writing this formula here, I would be equals. So it's going to be multiplied by this here. So what is it? So B15, it's not the B I want it to move when I drag it across this way. It's going to be the 15 I need to stay in place. So rather than using the F4, I could just go put the $ in here as well. So I can just go Shift 4 and put it in front of the 15. And then I can do my multiplication, and it's going to be here just like that. So I get my $13. So if I drag this across here to fill it out, everything looks the same here. I can see the same amounts are coming up here. So if I drag this down, let's see, $15, that looks correct. And then if I drag this across like this, everything is matching up. So if I go to show my formulas again, you can see here, so with it in front of the 15, it's always staying in that same spot of the 15. The 15 is staying the same because I have it in front of the, so this would be relative absolute, and this one up here is absolute relative. Now I want to go to the last example, and that's going to be absolute, because I don't want it to move from the cell. So if I go to show formulas, and let's say there's a discount, I'm going to just quickly do a total here. So it's just going to be a sum right here of these two here. And we'll copy this down, and we're going to apply a discount to this. Notice there's a discount up top here. And if I was going to say, if I would just went through here and say equals this, and I'll do a multiply versus this. Okay, here's my discount. That works fine. What happens when I copy this down? Well, notice I went to a blank and then value, value. Take a look. If I double click in here, as I copied it down, it's trying to multiply it by this cell that says product in it. That doesn't make any sense. I need to lock it in that one cell. It needs to stay in B1. So what I need to do to this, and I'm just going to go through and just delete everything. And if I go here, so equals this multiplied by this spot, and this time I'm going to go back using my F4, so function F4, and I'm going to hit it once. When I have it with absolute, so the $ is in front of the column where it started, so the B, and also in the row, that's absolute, absolute. I'm going to hit enter. Now when I copy this down, it works, because if I click on any of these, double click, this up here stays at B1. Notice that this is selected. I double click in here, B1. So it always stays in the exact place. So those are some different examples from what we had with absolute relative, relative absolute, and absolute absolute, depending on the situation, how you're copying those formulas around. Now we're going to go through on how to use the if function in Microsoft Excel. This is a very important function to understand to create these if statements. The whole idea when you're creating these if statements, you're really going to get back two results. So if you're comparing a value, you'd be saying, if this is true, then do this. If not, then do this. Let's go ahead and create one right here, our first if statement in this cell D7. And we'll start it off pretty simple, and then we'll just add things and give you some different options and carry forward some of the other things we've learned in this class. Now, I'm going to go ahead and for this part here, I'm going to start the function from insert function here. So we'll go insert function. If it doesn't show up right away here, do your search for if, hit go, should be right at top. So I'm selecting this one. So we need to do the logical test. What do we want to have happen? So in this case, what I want it to have happen is if it looks in this cell right here, and this number, if it's greater than, we'll say 700, just like that. And as I create this here, take a look at the formula being created up here as well. So you can just see kind of the structure of it. So if this value is true, what do I want to have happen? Well, I want it to say doing good. So I'm just going to type in doing good right in here, just like that. So the other thing that I want to have happen, so if it's false, I just want it to be blank. So this is where, again, we'll put in our double quotation mark like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. Notice it's blank, but that's OK because this number, it should be blank. It's not above 700. Let's copy this down and see what happened. So in this case right now, so doing good, this is above. So we looked at this one and said, hey, if this is above 700, give me back doing good, or else give me a blank. And so in this case, it gave me a blank on it. Let's move one step forward here into this cell. And we're going to create it again, but we'll do some cell referencing here. So let's go ahead this time and just put the equal sign and type if just like this and select the function if here. And what's the first thing? What was our logical test? Well, we're still looking at the sales here. So it's going to be this here and is greater than. So we'll keep that the same. So it's greater than. But let's go and reference this. So it's greater than 700, this cell. And based on the last lesson that we just did with the cell referencing, we're going to be copying this down. So this can't move. So to do that, we need to make this absolute. So absolute, absolute. I'm going to just use my function F4 like this to put the dollar sign around each of it. So that's the logical test, and we'll hit our comma. And then what happens if this is true? Okay, so we're just going to, again, click in this cell right here, and we need to also make that absolute, absolute. So again, F4, function F4 that I'm hitting on mine. And what's the last thing to have happen? Well, I'll put my comma, and I'll just put my double quotation mark here, and then end my bracket and hit enter. Nothing seems to be happening, but remember, these are the same numbers. I'm going to copy this down. Is it matching up? Yeah, it is. The great thing with cell referencing is that if this number changes over here, so if doing good turns to be 400 here, hit return, notice everything's there. So if this is dynamic now and making the changes because we did that cell referencing. I could also change what I'm saying in here, and it would be reflected down here. So let's move now to the next column with an end also in it. In this column, we're going to use the if function again, but we're going to add the end function in this as well, because I want two different things to have happen. When it looks up this number, if it's above whatever number we put in here, so right now 900, it will bring me back doing good as long as it's also below 1200. So let's go ahead and create this with our formula. So I'm going to put my equal sign in. We're going to start with our if again. So if. But this is where I need to add the other function right away, is the end function. So the end function here. Now I can go and start putting my steps in. So what's the first thing? Well, when this right here, so C7 is greater than this right here. So remember, similar to what we did before, we may need to make that absolute. So I'm going to go and put my dollar signs around it, just like that, and put a comma in. The other thing I need to have happen, if C7 here is less than, so we need the less than symbol, this number, again, put the dollar signs in again. So I'll put those in here. And now I'm going to go and close my bracket, put a comma in. What do I want to have happen? Well, it's going to bring me back doing good. And remember to put, again, we need to absolute this one. So we'll put that in here. And the other thing it brings back is going to be blank. So if we put our blank in here, and we could put something else in here. So if you wanted to put, I'll just put test, just like that. And we'll close this and I'll hit enter and we'll copy this down. So you can see what are doing good and the other ones are saying test, but I don't really want it to say test. So what I can do is go back and I can just delete that out of here, just like that. And I'm going to go and copy this down again over top. And so I only have 2 that are doing good based on that parameter. So if I look at the formula here, I'll just go in here, double click. You see, it looked up, it said if it was greater than whatever number this is, and less than whatever number this is, then bring me back this here, otherwise a blank. And if this number changes, so if I was going to go 400, you can see the different options. Now we're even going to go another step forward. You can see all the different things that we're doing right through here. We're on the step 3, if t-shirt sales are above 700. So if we're going to put this number back in here and below 1200, we want doing good to come up. And if it's in between, but we also want to have great month pop up if it's not. Now on this one, we had the nested end function. With this one, we're going to have the nested end function, and then we're going to add another if function. So we're going to have one inside of it. And to kind of speed this up, I could start typing this all up, but I'm actually going to show you how we can copy our previous formula so we can just add to it. This spot right here, I know this is going to work, this first part. So I'm going to go up here and just go Control C to copy this and hit enter. And I'm going to move over to this cell right here and go Control V and paste it in. So you can see up top C7. I didn't want to drag it over because that would have moved to the wrong column. I would have at C7, but this is all done correctly. But where I need to change it is here at the end. I don't want it to just come back blank at the end. So I need to remove this. And this is where I'm going to put in another if statement at this time. So if I go ahead and start typing if again, you can see I get the option and I can go ahead and complete this. So what do I want to have happen? Well, if this right here is greater than this cell now, so above 1200, that's currently what we have set it up with, and we have to make that fixed or absolute, so make sure you go ahead and put those around. I want it to come back with this, great month. And again, making sure where the dollar signs are around it. Otherwise, it's going to come back with bad month with the dollar signs on it. So we get that all set up. The other thing we have to do with this is add one more bracket. Even though we have one bracket at the end, you have to match your brackets. So I need to add another bracket. So this bracket here and that bracket match, this bracket, you can count the matches between each of these and how you're closing up on these ones. So we need that double bracket. So I'm just going to go hit enter. So they're saying this is a bad month. Is that correct? So it's below 700, so that's correct. Let's copy this down. And we have great month, so great month would be above 1200, and you can see all these are, the doing good are in between, and then we have the bad month coming back. And these, remember, we can adjust these numbers here, so if this was going to be different and everything changes in this column. So that is kind of the beginning point of the if function here. So we did it from a basic if function by itself in an if statement, and then we did our nested and then we added our nested and if in it. So you can see how you can add other functions within functions. So let's move on to our next part of this class now. Let's create a drop-down list using data validation in Microsoft Excel. So take a look at this. Let's run through an example. Under fruit, notice when I click in the cell, I have the drop down here that I can pick, and I get to pick from these different fruits. So if I pick bananas, there's bananas. Here's the list right across here that it's actually pulling from. If I drop down to the next one, same thing, I could pick oranges and so on. Now, the thing that I want to show you after we just do the basic setup of a dropdown, I want to go to a step further and show you how to create another dropdown that's dependent upon what you chose in the first one, like this. So if I go to type, notice when I drop down now, it's going to be all my choices from the banana. So I can pick a banana. If I go to oranges and drop down, I see all my orange list here. Let's try this one more time with apples. So if I pick apples, there we go, we have our apple list. And you can see all the different lists that we have in here, but when I chose this first one, this adapted to the correct list. And I want to show you how to create that. So make sure you're in the right page. We're on the data validation sheet so you can follow along and create your own. Let's start with a basic way just to create a simple drop down before we get to the ones that I showed you before. Now, if I want to drop down right here, and let's say we're just going to pick two different types of fruits, apple and oranges. So if I want it right here, what I need to do is look up in your tab and go to data, and then look for the data tools right here. So data validation. I'm going to just select it here. And then the next thing I want to do is go to list. So right here, so list is right here. At this point, I could add my type of fruit that I want. So if I want apple, and by comma, I'll put oranges in this spot, and I'm going to hit OK. At this point, if I go over, I get the handle here for the drop down. I have apple and oranges here. So I could choose either or, very simply like that. Now, I'm going to go back up to data validation again, and I'm going to go and hit clear all right here. So notice I've hit clear all, hit OK. Now it's gone. Even though there's something still written in there, that was the last thing I chose, there's actually the data validation is gone. A different way I could do this, if I go back to data validation, I could go and choose my list here. And this time, let's go here, and I could select my list across and hit enter and hit OK. Now I have my complete list where I could pick different ones. So it's that easy to put in for a drop-down list. And the nice thing with the drop-down list, you can avoid typos. When you're entering in the data, you can make sure that everything stays the same, especially if you're doing filters on it after. Now, this isn't the way that I created what you saw previously. We're going to do a few more steps. We're going to undo this step here and start from scratch because we're going to do a few other things here first. The first thing that I want to do is turn this data into a table. And just like earlier in the class, we can use the shortcut Control-T or go up to the insert and do the table this way as well. So this does have table headers, yes. Now we have a table here. So the reason why I made this a table was in case something gets updated, maybe I add another banana, it will update the list as well. So that's why I'm using the table here. Now, the next thing I actually need to do is name these ranges. So this through here, I want to have this named as a range called apples, this one called bananas, this one oranges, and this one lemons. To do this, it can be done very quickly. If we go to our formulas tab, take a look at this. We can create from a selection. So I'm just going to highlight this area, create from selection here. And I want just the top row. So that's where the values are going to be. And if I just unclick the left column and hit OK, doesn't look like anything happened, but take a look at this. So if I drop down over here, I have apples, bananas, lemons, and oranges. If I go and select oranges, that shows me the highlighted oranges part there. So that's a named range. If I click a different one, bananas, it moves over. If I go to table 10, that's the table that I created right there, which I could rename as well, but I'm going to just leave it there. If you ever need to delete any of these different names that you wanted, you can go up to the name manager, and here they are, apples, bananas. If I wanted apples deleted, I could delete it just like that. So just to point that out. So we have a table and we have our named ranges. The reason why I named the ranges is because I'm going to use this indirect function that allows me to direct it towards a range. So let me show you an example here. I'm just going to type in A1 here. So A1, just like that. And I'm going to use the indirect function right here. So if I go in equals, so I'll start typing indirect, comes up this one right here. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to reference this one right here, and I'm just going to leave it like this. So when I hit enter on this one, look what happens. So hit enter, it brings me back fruit order form. It didn't bring me back A1. It brought me, this was an address that it brought me back this spot. So when I'm using indirect with the named ranges, it's going to bring me back the list that I have. So just a little bit about indirect. Let's go ahead and start our drop downs. And the first actually drop down isn't going to be anything special. It's just like what I showed you before. We're going to use data validation. So we're going to go to data. We're going to use data validation here. We're going to use our list here. Let's go select our source. It's going to be across here. So similar to what I showed you before, I'm just going to hit enter and then OK. And then we have our first one. So we can pick our different ones right through here. And I can copy this down as well. But I'll wait a moment before I do some copying because I want to do the type. So when I choose this fruit, the type will change depending on what fruit it is. So this time, when we use the data validation, I'm going to go ahead right back to my list here. And I'm going to actually put my formula right inside here. So I'm going to go equals, and I'm going to type indirect. So indirect. It's going to be based on this cell right here, which is A6. So I'm going to just type it in. You can select it if you wanted. I could actually select A6. It comes in with the absolute dollar signs around it. So I could F4 till they go away, but I'm just going to type it in like that. So indirect A6. So it's going to look at this one, whatever's in this one. Let's hit OK. And we'll see what happens. So now when I drop down, it is giving me this list because it's looking back at that range and pulling from there. So can we copy this down now? So if I just highlight these and drag them down, and if I drop down, let's say we go to oranges and we go to here, so all oranges. If I go to apples, this should be all apples through here. So you can see how it's working very easily, and we didn't even do that many steps. So at this point, we could go through, and if this was an amount that you're entering in for these or dollar sign, you could go through and finish this. And remember, it makes it nice because you're going to avoid any errors with typos in here. I was going to point out why we did a table and everything. Watch how fast. Notice that with Macintosh, there's an H missing here. So if I go over here and just put the H here and just click off of it, if I go back now and drop down and pick it, the H is there. So it's already updated. If I was adding another example here, I'll just type example. Can't think of any more banana names off the top of my head. So if I type example, and if I go over here and pick bananas here, and you'll see example is there. So I can quickly add more. And that's why I did the table so that it automatically updated. That's how you create a drop-down list using data validation, and how you can create a dependent drop-down list using the indirect function in Microsoft Excel. We're going to go and create an entry form so we can keep filling in this list or edit it or search in here. So what I mean by this is, watch this. So we have to turn this into a table, just like we've used many times before. I'm going to use the Control T to do this, and my table has headers, just like that. Do notice I do have the shortcut to create tables up top here. You can add that as well. Now I'm going to go and add a form to this. I'm going to go to the search. And if you type form, it comes up, looks like this right here. So I'm going to go and choose it. Notice here is my data entry form. I can do a few different things. If I wanted to go through, I can just go through and read all the different ones that I have here. I can go through and make changes. So I can go and edit too. So if I go back and I don't want the name in the middle there, if I just delete that and hit enter, it's made the update. If I want to go through and maybe delete somebody, I can do this. I can hit OK on this, just like that. And then that's deleted. So I'm updating the entry through here. I can do a search. So if I go to criteria and I was looking for maybe anybody in House Stark and I hit enter, all the ones I see now, if I go to next, notice that they're all in house Stark. So I can go through and it's keeping to that criteria. And of course, I could add a new one. So if I wanted to do a new entry, I could hit new. Maybe I put in Arya here, and I know it's house Stark, and it's going to be Macy here. I probably won't spell it right, but oh well. And I'm just going to hit enter, and I have a new one entered just like that. So you can see it adds another way that you can enter this. I want to go and show you how you can add a shortcut for this as well. So if I just hit close on this, we're going to put one up top in our quick access here. So I'm going to go and right click on this and customize the ribbon. And where we want to go to is our quick access toolbar. I'm going to stretch this out so we see this. This shows me everything that's on there. There's the insert table one. I'm going to go to the commands not on the ribbon, and this is all in just alphabetical order. So I'm just going to go to F, and you're going to see the form right there. I move it over to have it over here, hit OK. So now at any point, I just have that quick access here that I can click on, and it will pop up, and I can enter in more data using a data entry form. The last thing that I want to show you today is conditional formatting, how to apply it, and why do you even want it? So if you take a look at this right away, what you notice, it changes it visually. And to me, this makes it more functional too, because you can just quickly glance at the different columns and you can see what's happening based on whether you choose an icon or these bar graphs. And in this one, I even have a formula. So I'm going to show you how to apply these different types of formatting to the data that we have. We're going to go through and apply a different conditional formatting to each of these columns. Now, before we do that, we do need to select what we're going to apply the conditional formatting to. So I could go through and select here this way, or we could use a shortcut like Control Shift and hit the down arrow, and it will go all the way down to the bottom of where the data is. And just another tip, if you wanted to select everything, we could just hit the right arrow, and then it will go all the way to the other end. But in this case right here, I just need to have this first column selected without the header in it. So once you have that selected, let's go up to conditional formatting. I want to apply data bars to this one. We're going to go to data bars, and we can see that as we hover over, there's different colors here. So we can take a look if we want the solid fill versus the gradient. And we even have more rules. So these more rules I could set. I'm going to come back to this in a different one and create my own rule with a formula. But I just want to show you, you can get into these. So if you want to create your different colors from here, you can do that from here. So, but to quickly add just our data bars here, let's go to this right here, or you pick which one, and I just go ahead and select it. And then visually right away, I don't really need to see the number as much because my eyes will go to the highest one. So this is a great run with the data bar, depending again what you want to be showing and what the data is. But this really helps bring the eye to the highest amounts and even the lowest amounts, or to see which ones are similar. Let's move over to the profit column now, and we're going to go with a color scale. So again, we need to select this. So we'll select this column, and we're going to go up to color scales. And we do have our more rules like I showed you before, but we can hover over the ones here that will indicate kind of what you want to show. So you notice if I hover over here, the high ones are blue, and the bottom ones are in red. The more negative it gets, the lower number, it gets redder. So you can see what you would want. Again, change the rules if are the colors to it through the rules that way. So if I leave it just like this, I can quickly add that to it. Now, if we look at customer satisfaction, let's try an icon set. So I'm going to select again this part here. And if I go back up, the icon set right here, I have all these different things I can add to it. If I hover over, you get the idea of it. In this case, what I want to do is go to the stars, because this is customer satisfaction. To me, this makes the most sense to show satisfaction out of these icons. So if I choose it and I look at what it shows, the one that's fuller gets the most satisfaction. So I don't even have to look at the number. I can just see the icon and go from there. Let's try something else under days to deliver. Let's say in days to deliver, I want to highlight anything that's taking over 15 days to show that there's a problem. I need to check into this. So if I was going to go and just highlight this one and go up to conditional formatting, I could use the highlight cell rules. And look, I have a lot of different ones. I can even be using ones that are on dates, that text that contains, and so on. I'm going to use the greater than one here. So I'm just going to change this. It's set at 14.5, but I'm going to go ahead and type 15 in there. What do I want it to fill with? You can see I have different options, whether it be red text, custom. I could go to custom format if I wanted to set it even more, but I'll just leave it as this one right here. And it draws my eyes to ones that are the problems of those plus 15. So just an easy way to detect this. And if I didn't want to have any of these on it, I can erase the entire all this conditional formatting too. So if I was going to have this selected, I could go to conditional formatting and clear the rules. So since I have that selected, I could just go clear rules from selected and it will go back to with no formatting, or I could clear the entire sheet from here too. So just if you did want to erase things. Okay, let's move over to return, and we're going to try the top bottom rules. So we'll go ahead and then select it here. We're going to go up to our conditional formatting here, and here is our top bottom rule. And we're going to highlight the top 10% of the return rates. So it's already done for us. Again, we could adjust it with more rules, but I'm going to go with the top 10%. You can see if it's above average or below average here. I can go and choose this one. What do I want to happen? Do we want it red or green, or you choose? Maybe I'll do yellow this time just to show the difference, and then hit OK. And I can see the only two that have come from there. All right, so the last one that we want to do is add we're going to add a formula in here. So what we're going to do is take an average and see anything greater than the average for this one. So we can see if anything's popular, and this will be able to give us this quick glance to it. We're going to add a simple formula to this last column here. Before we do that, I'm going to insert a number right here. It's going to be 40. So I'm going to create a formula that will look at this number, and if any of these numbers are equal to or larger than, then it's going to be formatted to the color that I choose. So let's go ahead and start this now. So we need to select our data that we're going to apply the conditional formatting to. Drop down. We're going to go to a new rule. At this time, you need to go to use a formula to determine which cells to format. And this is where we put in our formula. So to start with, I'm just going to click out of this by clicking here and selecting this top cell. You need to select this top cell that we're applying this to. So I'm going to select it. And the other thing is, see how it has the dollar signs around it for absolute? We don't want that. So I'm going to get rid of these dollar signs, and I'm just going to hit F4 a couple times. I want it just F2. So I'm going to leave, go back. And what do I want to happen? Well, I want it to be, so I said if it was greater than or equal to. So I'm going to put the greater than and then the equal to. And I'm going to just select this and this spot right here. So this does need to be, this would be absolute, and that's fine. So I'm going to just select this back. There's no format set. What do I want to have happen here? I'm going to go format, and I could change. You can see from number, font, border, fill. Let's just choose this purple one right here. I'm going to hit OK and OK. So now it went through and changed anything that's equal to, there's a 40. Notice that this is hard to read. If I go back again, and let's go back and just go to manage the rules. Here's the one I just created. I can edit this, and I don't want that font to be black there. So I'm going to go format, and I'm going to go to font, and here's the color. I want it to be white this time. I'm going to hit OK and hit OK and apply. So I'll leave there, and now this is much easier to read. So that's how you go back and edit, and you can check to see anything that was equal to 40 or greater was highlighted. So that's how you add a formula with conditional formatting. Play around with all the different styles. Try making some different rules to see what you get. This can really make your sheets stand out with just easy understanding of the data that you have. So at the end of this class here today. We covered a lot of different material here. Let me know what else you want to learn. I do plan on creating an advanced Microsoft Excel class 1 coming up. So let me know what you would like to learn down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this time on Teachers Tech. I'll see you next time with more tech tips and tutorials.